Welcome back to our second part of Retrograde. I'm Solon, representing Rainy Day Let's Play. When a hypersphere threatened all that is right and angular on planet Kyob, the inhabitants turned to Rick. He was forced to protect them as part of the settlement for his property damage lawsuit since he destroyed millions of their crates to find power-ups as a foot soldier in the last war. So, last episode we introduced the game and a lot of its components, as well as checked it out and hung out with it. This will be our first level where we get a mini-boss of sorts, or maybe even a boss of sorts. Funny thing is, the boss comes at the very beginning of the level. That makes sense in this world. So it's just all this big deconstruction of what we expect out of video games. And so right away at the very beginning of a level, we have to deal with some weird big new concept instead of at the very end, where that is representative of like the climax. So after we get through this guy and he goes away, instead of us like destroying him, I guess the reverse version of that is he flies home and eats his meal with his family. We're gonna end up having to fight all of his, or unfight all of his cronies, or hers, or its, or whatever. Anyways, part of my studies with this game was a practice in methodologies, because I found out there's a whole bunch of different ways you can analyze games, that people have been working on different methods to actually build on just how to break down a game. And there's a billions of ways, but only a few have actually been written down. But this one's by Mia Consalvo and Nathan Dutton, methodology that they came up with, involving analyzing what is like the physical objectness of each of these each of the parts of a game. So it talks about analyzing an inventory, taking inventory of the objects, studying the interface, creating a map of all of the interactions involved between the game and the player, and then logging the more natural and organic gameplays. So that's where you get a lot of the ideas of emergent gameplay, and you can study that. So it's kind of cool. Anyways, it ended up actually giving me a lot of really cool things to think about, and so I wanted to share that with you. So last time we talked about some of the things about how this is like an OCD love letter, and how this is violent, how it talks about inherent violence in video games, and how that's become something just inherent to our culture, and how this is kind of a counter to that argument, in a weird way, in an violent way. But if we just look at the objects that one interacts with when playing the game, we can see that a lot of that's really emphasized, such as when we hit power-ups, how they're all about score, and how they're about they're usually about multipliers or maintaining oneself. None of them are like power-ups, like a Mario power-up would be like growing or shrinking or and they come down to luck. Whereas this is a rhythm game, so all of your power-ups don't actually affect your player in any kind of luck-based way, other than something to like save yourself, like a temporal barrier. But that's something where it's like, that's not for the perfectionist part, that's for like the oh my god I need to survive part. And the bad power-ups are like the inverse of that. And so there's kind of a critique that this game naturally makes with its objects and with its interactions, about the difficulty of like combating one's past, I guess is a way to say it. Or really I guess an even better way to say it would be how we as a player, we as this person are chained to our past. And so we can see this direct reflection as we're going forward through the game again, that all of these things that happened as part of the game we have to reflect against. Alright, next level. I am Error. Rick's parents live in the space burbs, and although he was avoiding a visit because he couldn't bear to hear another embarrassing childhood story, he decided it was probably worth defending them from the Exnorian attack. Good old Rick. He definitely has his morals straight. Look at that city. Is that cool or what? You gotta like fly over this in reverse. No rear windows here. Alright, good way to start off. Just mess up that note. We'll just undo it. Because we can! Because we're at the beginning of the song. We'll make it so that we can get exactly 0, maybe. I don't know. Someday I'll be that good. Nah, never gonna happen. Okay, so this idea of like not having control, which is totally ingrained into the genre of this game, the genre of the I'm not blanking on the name. The genre of a rhythm game, like Guitar Hero, is that you're chained to the track, you're chained to the meter, and in this case it's very, very explicit about how you're chained to time, and you're chained to your previous actions, and it's like the past coming back to haunt you, and that totally shows up in just the interface of the gameplay, how we talked about how the lights looked last time, and how it's like all this magical starlight stuff shows up before the bullets show up because of the trail that they leave when you fire them, and so it makes the track naturally for you, which is kind of a cool thing. On top of that, you have the difficulty of the game itself, which you totally get out of the interactions that come out of the game, of how it's very easy to make a decision. It's very hard to control the consequences of the decision, and that's how you get politics. That was a joke, I'm sorry. Fudge! Black holes. Okay. These are evil. Basically, your defense against black holes is if you are in the lane where a black hole pops up underneath you, or next to you, in a lane next to it, it'll try to suck you in. So you have to hit the, try to push yourself out of it in a direction opposite of where the black hole is. So if you're above a black hole, you have to hit up to, flee from it. And it makes this totally different interaction where, actually, it really sucks. It's a black hole, I get it. Damn it. I didn't mean... Okay, sorry. Bad puns. Black holes suck. But it makes this interaction where you no longer have the same kind of control like you do just going up and down the lanes. And so, not only do you have to move with flow, but this cuts that flow completely off. And so, basically it's like, alright, you're getting comfortable, you're like 6 levels into this game, let's just throw a whole wrench into it and see what happens. There aren't many levels with black holes because they're evil, and it's not fair at all. But it's awesome. That's kind of what makes it super cool. So what else do we have? So when the player interacts with the sum of all the effects described previously, just all of the interaction map and the object inventory and all these things, it makes some very interesting patterns, some very emergent gameplays that show up with the simplified control scheme, a minimalistic interface, objects that emphasize that skillful playing over like a randomly mashing buttons, or many other ways that you could emphasize that. The player focuses less on the outcome of a level, like whether they win or lose, and instead focus on the much more difficult task of achieving a perfect low score of 0 points. So in this case, we definitely did not get 0 points, but we got a new low score. That's a thing. That helps. And 224th. That sounds like a cool number. Alright, next level. Rick Rollin. Rick's ship was damaged, so he went to planet Technotron to get it repaired. Fortunately, the damage was only to the seat heater, but Rick refused to fight without his butt properly warmed. The garage agreed to waive the repair fee if Rick fights off the invaders. It's just so selfish! But in Backwards World, that makes him a philanthropist. So think about that. the next time you steal from someone. Because, I don't know, you just whisper, like, in the ear of your victim, "In reverse world, I'm giving this back to you," and then run off and giggle or something. So this is fun. This is where they're mixing up all of the different firing methods at once. Apparently, Rick Rocket going forwards was just really random and chaotic here. He's like, "I'm gonna just push all the buttons and pull all the levers on these guys." Oh, the Exnorians were so outmatched and outgunned. Not even fair. Alright, so we're just having a great start to this match. Let's get back to something I can handle a little better. So, achieving that perfect low score of 0 points, you want to return exactly back down to 0. Returning back down to 0 points is so much more difficult than achieving a high score like in other games. Instead of competing against human components, you're competing against an entire system to achieve perfection in the eyes of that system, or even in the eyes of the designer. Like, this would be Matt Gilgenbach's form of perfection is 0 points, which is totally different from like the original Namco Pac-Man idea of getting a high score, competing against other players. You are like chained to this system, and so it makes total sense knowing Matt Gilgenbach's background that his perfect system is coming back to 0. It's like, this is the perfect catharsis for anyone who is OCD or anyone who has similar kinds of compulsions to make things neat and tidy and perfect and bring them back to a origin point. So, as I said before, the leaderboards currently show that the perfect score has only been accomplished on like 3 levels out of 10 of them times 6. So it is something that's attainable, although extraordinarily difficult. And these dynamics give the player a sense of compulsion towards perfection. It compels you to play perfectly, because you have the option to go back. If you make a mistake, you can flip on back and undo it. You can't get your combo back, but you can. It's like, that's just how it lets you express yourself in that way. So if the player is not perfect, then they're failing, and that's kind of something that comes out of just playing the game. Is you get that idea of your combo breaks, and you're like, "God damn it! This game is farts, and everything is farts," and you get that, like, that burning inside when you feel that, as opposed to other games where you can have these little failures and they don't feel as big because you have a much bigger goal that you're trying to accomplish. It really puts the emphasis on the micro level of the game as opposed to the macro goal of beating the level. So this is something, it can be important motivation to continue to want to solve problems or perform more successfully, depending on how OCD one is, or how OCD they're feeling at the moment of when they play the game. This pattern also really makes the player engage with the themes of conflict. And when we run into conflict, our measure as people is reflected on the amount of work we put into fixing our problems. Those who spend the time and energy to fully fix the problem will realize that they never have the same problem again. By returning all the way back to the beginning, we can know how to fix ourselves in ways so that we'll never go down that wrong path. Huh. Sorry, I just, that's a different, okay. So, I guess you could kind of put that in a modern sense. Oh god, with the big scarab bug. I'm sorry. This buzzsaw guy is mean. And you have black holes. So we have black holes and this crazy eating mini-boss freaky thing. We also have black holes on top of black holes. So they're gonna like push us they're gonna make us move one way and then push us into another black hole that spawns underneath us. So that's cool. Thanks, guys. Rude. Alright, so I was hitting something there. You have this kind of like a modern idea that a lot of times we end up making mistakes in the world around us. And it's like the idea of going back to fix those mistakes is usually harder than actually making them. And so it'll be this really daunting task to have to go out and fix it, and that's how you get that kind of this lethargy and this laziness. So look at how rude this is. The greens, the reds, yellows, when they flash on the arms, that means that's what lane they're gonna hit. And then right there's gonna be a black hole. And so you see the things coming, and they know that you see things coming, and it's designed in a way so that if you were to like predict being in that lane right, they're gonna be like, nope, nah dude, there's a black hole there now, there's a scarab arms striking through you. And meanwhile he's also like shooting things at you, so cool guy, scarab mini boss, cool guy. Man, are we even gonna get through this level? Holy crap, that'd be a little embarrassing. Great, okay, so now we have Buzzsaw guy, which is the exact opposite. His arms flash the color of the lane that you want to be in. Harder modes introduce more of these lanes, and so in the harder levels you'll have 5 lanes to deal with, which doesn't make it easier like it sounds like it would. Oh god. Okay, hardcore mode. Let's buckle down and nail this level. Nice. Or not. It's okay. I think we're almost out of here. Whew. Anyways, thank you to the track for being in the right place. Really use some help. Holy crap. Oh god. This is getting worse for us. Okay, so we're in the clear now. We're probably gonna be just fine right now. Oh, what was I gonna say? Oh, one of the big draws to this game, and one of the reasons that I was playing it is that you can play it with the Guitar Hero controller. And I can talk more about how I got to know this game in the next episode, because I like that story. And but you can use the Guitar Hero controller for this game, and the idea is that you have 5 lanes for 5 frets, and the 5 frets that you, when you push one of the buttons, you'll go to that lane. And so it makes it a completely different game. I'm playing this game with a controller, which works perfectly fine, and to an extent, because of how you're hitting the up and the down buttons multiple times to go between the lanes, you kind of get that idea of the flow of, it's like the beat's going and you're like, up, 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 or something like that, while you're moving as well as while you're shooting. So that's kind of a cool thing. It's cool they give you options. Alright, so beat the mini-boss, just barely. Scraped through that one, and we're going to do one more part, and we're going to finish the game. Thanks for watching, and if you got any questions or comments, please leave them. I'd love to hear them, and I'd love to talk about more of this game with you guys. Thanks!